Now, the two books of Samuel, 1st and 2nd Samuel, were originally one volume in the Hebrew text. Now, upon its translation into Greek, being the Septuagint, Samuel was joined with the book of Kings, and the total work was called the Book of the Kingdoms, or the Books of the Kingdoms. And in order to keep the work from becoming too voluminous, it was divided at that time into 4 divisions that are now found in the English text, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings. The first 2 divisions bear the name of the prominent character Samuel, and he was a prophet, priest, and an anointer of kings. Now keep in mind the timing of this writing. It is after the entrance into the promised land. Joshua, who had led the Israelites into the promised land, he had long since passed away. This was the end of the era of the judges. Keep it on judges. Now, judges were not judges like we think, with the gavel and telling people you're guilty or you're innocent. That's not what these judges were. These judges were military leaders. And the time of the judges was a time of moral and physical chaos in the land of Israel. They didn't kill off all of the Canaanites like they were supposed to. Each tribe and sect of each tribe was just going on their own. Okay? With very little, if any, organization. And they pretty much ignored the Torah of the Father. And everyone just kind of did what they wanted. In Judges 17, verse 6, it says, "In those days there was no king in Israel. Every man did what was right in his own eyes." And the last verse in Judges is Judges 21, verse 25. "In those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes." You know, Israel's used to having a leader. Moses was their leader. Then it was Joshua. Then it was nobody. And that's where we are here in this particular case. The author of the books in 1st and 2nd Samuel is unknown. Okay? We don't know who wrote it for sure. It's kind of anonymous. Jewish tradition claims the prophet Samuel wrote the book of Judges and Samuel. That could be. And then allegedly the prophets of Gad and Nathan supplied supplementary information concerning the years following Samuel's death. Nevertheless, there's no reference to an author in the book. But the biblical text does indicate that prophetic figures Samuel, Nathan, and God, that's how you pronounce it, Gad. It's don't actually pronounce Gad. That's why I say Elohim instead of God. They did chronicle many of the acts of King David. In 1 Chronicles 29, verse 29, now the acts of King David from first to last are written in the Chronicles of Samuel the seer, in the Chronicles of Nathan the prophet, and the Chronicles of God the seer. So I don't know if these Chronicles aren't 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings. Maybe. Could be. But we don't know. The dating of the book is approximately 1120 to 1010 BC. 1 Samuel deals with a period of time between the birth of Samuel and the closing days of Saul's reign. It begins in a setting of loose tribal organization with little or no leadership and concludes with the death of the deranged King Saul. He ends his own life in the heat of a battle with the Philistines, and this book here covers more than a century of Hebrew history. The theme of the book is the beginning of the Israelite monarchy. The book describes a growing desire for a king, the differing opinions that accompanied that desire, and the roles that various individuals played in the beginning and continuing days of Hebrew kingship. Now, the materials depict kingship as a theological one rather than a political matter. The Elohim of Israel continues to be the true king of Israel. The earthly king would represent the nation before Elohim and would be entirely responsible to him. Now, the book clearly reveals that the success or failure of the anointed king would be determined by his obedience or disobedience to the Torah of the Father. And that determines his commitment to the will of Elohim, naturally. For Elohim the king was to be a spirit-led national leader who adhered to the Torah of Elohim and recognized Elohim as the true king of the nation. Now, it was this concept of kingship that Elohim ordained. That was the intention. Now, 1 Samuel 1, verse 1, we read, Now there was a certain man from Ramathaim Nophim, from the hill country of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeraham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, and Ephraimite. Now, we don't really know where Ramathaim is, but we think it's here. And I wrote here, showed you where the Dead Sea is, Mediterranean, naturally right here. And that's hill country there, about elevation 2,000. Verses 2 and 3. And he had 2 wives. The name of one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Now this man would go up from his city yearly to worship and to sacrifice to the Yahweh of hosts in Shiloh. And the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni and Phinehas, were priests to Yahweh there. Now Elkanah would go up from the city yearly to worship and present offerings to the Yahweh of hosts in Shiloh. Why in Shiloh? That's where the tabernacle was at that time. Okay? That's why he went there. The text appears to mean he went up there once a year, but I'm thinking he went up there 3 times a year, as is required. Now the term Yahweh of hosts, that means Yahweh of armies, referring to the armies of Israel. Verses 4 and 5. And when the day came that Elkanah sacrificed, he would give portions to Peninnah his wife and to all her sons and her daughters. But to Hannah he would give a double portion, for he loved Hannah. But Yahweh had closed her womb. When Elkanah would sacrifice to Elohim, he could keep a lot of the meat. Okay, keep in mind a lot of offerings weren't just all burn up. The burnt offering was, but it was actually a barbecue like we talked about before. And he would give Hannah a double portion over everyone else. I don't know. I don't think that compensates for the infertility, but at least he's given her some attention, and that's good. Verses 6 and 7. Her rival, however, would provoke her bitterly to irritate her because Yahweh had closed her womb. And it happened year after year, as often as she went up to the house of Yahweh, she would provoke her. So she wept and would not eat. Polygamy is not prohibited in the Torah. It's also not commanded, okay, except in the case of the Levirate law. But that's not the case here. It's really not recommended. No. Peninnah is referred to as Hannah's rival. Oh, joy. They did not get along. And Peninnah would provoke Hannah because she can't have children. They say back then, that was a big deal if a woman was infertile. Well, I got news for you. It's a big deal today, too. Women love them babies. Don't y'all? You love them babies. I don't get comments on Facebook ever unless I post a picture of my new grandchild, whoever he or she is, and yep, they still love them baby. New baby comes into the shul, the women line up. Oh, I would hold the baby. Okay, it's great. It's great. I'm glad women have that innate desire to love little babies, because men lack that. Not always. Oh, I love my kids, my grandkids, sure. Someone else brings a baby in here. Hey, baby's cute. I can tell from here. Really? We were first married, my wife, don't you want to just hold the baby? We were just married. Baby? I've never held a baby in my life. You haven't? No. Oh my gosh. I don't know if any of my friends have ever held a baby either. That's just how it is. But females, and this type of situation here is just toxic. First Samuel 1, verses 8 and 9. Then Elkanah, her husband, said to her, Hannah, why do you weep, and why do you not eat, and why is your heart sad? Am I not better to you than 10 sons? Then Hannah rose after eating and drinking in Shiloh. Now Eli the priest was sitting on the seat by the doorpost of the temple of Yahweh. And she, greatly distressed, prayed to Yahweh and wept bitterly. And she made a vow and said, O Yahweh of hosts, if you will indeed look on the affliction of your maidservant and remember me and not forget your maidservant, but will give your maidservant a son, then I'll give him to Yahweh all the days of his life, and a razor shall never come over his head. Hannah prays to Elohim for a son. She's praying that if he will hear her out, give her a son, she'll dedicate him to service to Elohim his whole life. We're not told if Elkanah knew of her vow. He probably did know of it. And if he did, he too was responsible for her keeping it if he doesn't object to it at that time. See, a husband actually can make a wife's vow to the father null and void on that day that she makes it. In Numbers 30, starting at verse 6, however, if she should marry while under her vows, or the rash statement of her lips by which she's bound herself, and her husband hears of it and says nothing to her on the day he hears it, then her vows shall stand, and her obligations by which she has bound herself shall stand. But if on the day her husband hears of it, he forbids her, then he shall annul her vow, which she is under, in the rash statement of her lips by which she has bound herself, and Yahweh will forgive her. Now she said no razor is going to touch his head. She is dedicating him to the Nazerite vow. In Numbers 6, starting at verse 2, speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, when a man or woman makes a special vow, the vow of a Nazerite, to dedicate himself to Yahweh, he shall abstain from wine and strong drink. He shall drink no vinegar, whether made from wine or strong drink. Neither shall he drink any grape juice, nor eat fresh or dried grapes. All the days of his separation he shall not eat anything that is produced by the grapevine, from the seeds even to the skin. Even the days of his vow of separation, no razor shall pass over his head. He shall be holy until the days are fulfilled for which he separated himself to Yahweh. He shall let the locks of hair on his head grow long. She didn't put a time limit on this vow. Now that's normal. Normally there'd be a time limit on it, but there wasn't. She said a razor would never come upon his head. So this son of hers would not only be a Levite for service, but be a lifelong Nazirite. Verses 12 through 14 of 1 Samuel 1. Now it came about, as she continued praying before Yahweh, that Eli was watching her mouth. As for Hannah, she was speaking in her heart, only her lips were moving. But her voice was not heard, so Eli thought she was drunk. Then Eli said to her, how long will you make yourself drunk? Put away your wine from you. Okay, now, you know how it is. You've prayed silently before. Maybe you fold your hands and you talk. You whisper, move your lips. Well, I don't know if that was uncommon, that Eli hadn't really seen much of that. He thought, well, what are you doing? You're there talking to yourself. Are you drunk? Have you had too much to drink? Verses 15 and 16, but Hannah answered and said, no, my master, I'm a woman oppressed in spirit. I have drunk neither wine nor strong drink, but I poured out my soul before Yahweh. Do not consider your maidservant as a worthless woman, for I have spoken until now out of my great concern and provocation. Hannah did not want Eli to think that she was a worthless drunk. She came to beseech Elohim about her predicament here. Verses 19 and 20. Then they arose early in the morning and worshiped before Yahweh and returned again to their house in Ramah. And Elkanah had relations with Hannah his wife, and Yahweh remembered her. And it came about in due time, after Hannah had conceived, that she gave birth to a son. She named him Samuel, saying, because I have asked him of Yahweh. Well, she received the answer to her prayers to Elohim. She conceived, she bore a son. She named him Samuel. Actually, it was Shemuel is what he was named. That means asked of Elohim or heard of Elohim. Verse 21, and the man Elkanah went up with all his household to offer to Yahweh the yearly sacrifice and pay his vow. But Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, I will not go up until the child is weaned. Then I'll bring him, that he may appear before Yahweh and stay there forever. And Elkanah, her husband, said to her, do what seems best to you. Remain until you've weaned him, only may Yahweh confirm his word. So the woman remained and nursed her son until she weaned him. So Hannah's going to keep the child at home until she's through weaning him, and I don't know how long she took in doing that. I think she took her time. It's likely the age of maybe 4 or 5 years old is how long that the weaning took place. Verses 24 and 25. Now when she had weaned him, she took him up with her in a 3-year-old bull and 1 ephah of flour and a jug of wine, and brought him to the house of Yahweh in Shiloh, although the child was young. Then they slaughtered the bull and brought the boy to Eli. So when she's done weaning him, she takes him up to Shiloh. And we're not told that this was a feast day. She may have simply taken him up there when she was through with the process. She took with her a 3-year-old bull, an ephah of flour, and a hin of wine. Hannah took these 3 items with her because these are the items that are to be presented to Elohim when a vow has been fulfilled or made full. In Numbers 15, starting at verse 8, when you prepare a bull as a burnt offering or sacrifice to fulfill a special vow or for peace offerings to Yahweh, then you shall offer with the bull a grain offering of 3/10 of an ephah of fine flour mixed with 1/2 hin of oil. You shall offer as the libation 1/2 hin of wine as an offering by fire, as a soothing aroma to Yahweh. So everything is done according to the Torah. Verse 26. And she said, oh, my master, as your soul lives, my master, I am the woman who stood here beside you praying to Yahweh. For this boy I prayed, Yahweh has given me my petition, which I asked of him. So I've also dedicated him to Yahweh. As long as he lives, he's dedicated to Yahweh, and he worshiped Yahweh there. So Hannah reminds Eli, I'm the one that stood beside you there and prayed, and you thought I was drunk. Well, she tells him now, I was praying for a son, and that's what happened. Now, but now, as long as he lives, he's going to be dedicated to service to Elohim. Chapter 2, verse 1, we're going to get into Hannah's prayer here. Then Hannah prayed and said, my heart exults in Yahweh. My horn is exalted in Yahweh. My mouth speaks boldly against my enemies because I rejoice in your salvation. Never forget that's the Hebrew word Yeshua. It's almost like she knows he's coming. Now Hannah's been blessed with this son. She gave him to Eli. She said he's going to serve the father for his entire life. She was happy to hand him over for this purpose. Hannah is praying a prayer that's very eloquent. It speaks of the love, grace, mercy, provisions, and power of Elohim. Her prayer speaks strongly of predestination and election. She has a strong heart for Elohim, and as she says here, I rejoice in my Yeshua. Her prayer is similar to the prayer of Mary when she found out she was carrying Messiah. In Luke 1, verses 46 and 47, and Mary said, my soul exalts Adonai, and my spirit has rejoiced in Elohim, my Savior. Hannah goes into a lot greater detail. Verse 2, there is no one holy like Yahweh. Indeed, there is no one besides you, nor is there any rock like our Elohim. She's stating things she knows from the Torah and what she learned from her youth and from her family. Deuteronomy 3, verse 24. O Adonai Yahweh, you have begun to show your servant your greatness and your strong hand. For what God is there in heaven or on earth who can do such works and mighty acts as you? Deuteronomy 32, verse 31. Indeed, their rock is not like our rock. Even our enemies themselves judge this. Deuteronomy 32, verse 39. See now that I am he, and there is no Elohim besides me. It is I who put to death and give life. I have wounded, it is I who heal. And there is no one who can deliver from my hand. Going back to our prayer, verse 3. Boast no more so very proudly. Do not let arrogance come out of your mouth, for Yahweh is an Elohim of knowledge, and with him actions are weighed. She knows Elohim is the Elohim of knowledge. He weighs the actions of men. Jeremiah 17, verse 10 says, I, Yahweh, search the heart, I test the mind, even to give to each man according to his ways, according to the results of his deeds. He knows all things, he knows the hearts of all men. 1 Kings 8, verse 39. Then hear you in heaven your dwelling place, and forgive and act, and render to each according to all his ways, whose heart you know, for you alone do know the hearts of all the sons of men. Psalm 44, verse 21. Will not Elohim find this out? For he knows the secrets of the heart. Psalm 94, starting at verse 7. And they have said, Yahweh does not see, nor does the Elohim of Jacob pay heed. Pay heed, you senseless among the people, and when will you understand, stupid ones? He who planted the ear, does he not hear? He who formed the eye, does he not see? That's some pretty impeccable logic there. You know, I think he's not seeing and hearing. Well, he made the eye. He made the ear. He who chastens the nations, will he not rebuke? Even he who teaches a man knowledge. Yahweh knows the thoughts of man, that they are a mere breath. Boy. Psalm 147, verse 5, great is our Adonai and abundant in strength. His understanding is infinite. Going back to 1 Samuel 2, verses 4 and 5. The bows of the mighty are shattered, but the feeble gird on strength. Those who were full hire themselves out for bread, but those who are hungry cease to hunger. Even the barren gives birth to 7, but she who has many children languishes. You know, these words are similar to what Yeshua spoke on the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew 5, verses 3 through 6. Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. You know, blessed are the poor. What does that mean, poor in spirit? Humble, meek, yes. Yes. Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. Talking about those who mourn over their sin. That's what he's talking about. Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. Going back to Hannah's prayer, verse 6. Yahweh kills and makes alive. He brings down to the grave and raises up. Don't forget what Sheol means. It means simply the grave. It doesn't mean hell. You know what Hannah's saying here? Yahweh kills and he makes alive. You know what she knows? She knows resurrection. That's what she knows. He's in charge of life and death. Deuteronomy 32, verse 39. See now that I am he, and there's no God besides me. It is I who put to death and give life. I've wounded, it's I who heal. There's no one who can deliver from my hand. She knows that she can make the dead alive because he did that within her. She was dead, and he gave her a baby. The Tanakh speaks of the resurrection, by the way. Isaiah 26, verse 19, your dead will live, their corpses will rise. You who lie in the dust, awake and shout for joy. For your dew is as the dew of the dawn, and the earth will give birth to the departed spirits. Isaiah 25, verse 8, he'll swallow up death for all time, and Adonai Yahweh will wipe tears away from all faces. He'll remove the reproach of his people from all the earth, for Yahweh has spoken. There's others too, is a good one in Job. Ezekiel 37 talks about the resurrection. There's a lot in the Tanakh about that. Going back to Hannah's prayer. Verse 7, Yahweh makes poor and rich. He brings low, he also exalts. He raises the poor from the dust. He lifts the needy from the ash heap to make them sit with nobles and inherit a seat of honor. For the pillars of the earth are Yahweh's, and he set the world on them. You know, a lot of people I've heard, of course you have people that call themselves skeptics. Okay, I'm a skeptic of Scripture, of the Bible. I'm a skeptic of the Bible. That just means he's a clown, is what he means. He says, see, the Bible thinks the earth is set on pillars. No, it doesn't. You don't know anything about poetry, do you? Absolutely nothing. It's exactly what he's the one that put the earth where it is. That's what it's saying. He did it, okay? It's not, oh gosh. You're trying to take these obvious alliterations and make them literal so you can mock the word of the Father. That just means you're literally an idiot. So enjoy yourself. Verses 9 and 10, he keeps the feet of his godly ones, but the wicked ones are silenced in darkness. For not by might shall a man prevail. Those who contend with Yahweh will be shattered. Against them he'll thunder in the heavens. Yahweh will judge the ends of the earth. He'll give strength to his king and will exalt the horn of his anointed. The term anointed in Hebrew is Mashiach, meaning Messiah. This is the first reference in the Tanakh using that term. It's certainly appropriate since Mary was in a similar situation, being pregnant with the child being Yeshua, saying that similar prayer too, by the way. Going back to Luke 1, verse 49. For the Mighty One has done great things for me, and holy is his name. And his mercy is upon generation after generation toward those who fear him. He's done mighty deeds with his arm. He scattered those who were proud in the thoughts of their heart. And he's brought down rulers from their thrones and exalted those who were humble. He's filled the hungry with good things and sent away the rich empty-handed. He's given help to Israel, his servant, in remembrance of his mercy. Going back to 1 Samuel 2. Verse 11, then Elkanah went to his home in Ramah. But the boy ministered to Yahweh before Eli, the priest. So Samuel stayed with Eli, and he assisted Eli with his priestly duties. And Eli is really getting up in the years here. Verse 12, now the sons of Eli were worthless men. They did not know Yahweh and the custom of the priest with the people. When any man was offering a sacrifice, the priest's servant would come while the meat was boiling with a three-pronged fork in his hand. Then he would thrust it into the pan or kettle or cauldron or pot. All the fork brought up, the priest would take for himself. Thus they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. My gosh, these kids were evil, weren't they? They were acting as servants of the priests and handling the sacrifices improperly. They were supposed to have the breast and thigh portions of the wave, heave, and peace offerings. Okay, then Exodus 29, verses 27 and 28. And you shall consecrate the breast of the wave offering and the thigh of the heave offering, which was waved and which was offered from the ram of ordination, from the one which was for Aaron and from the one which was for his sons. And it shall be for Aaron and his sons as their portion forever from the sons of Israel, for it is a heave offering. And it shall be a heave offering from the sons of Israel, from the sacrifices of the peace offerings, even their heave offering to Yahweh. And Leviticus 7, verse 34, for I've taken the breast of the wave offering and the thigh of the contribution from the sons of Israel, from the sacrifices of their peace offerings, and have given them to Aaron the priest, to his sons as their due forever from the sons of Israel. Well, they were just taking what they wanted. They weren't taking what they were supposed to take. Whatever they stuck their fork in, they took it, stole it. Scripture says they didn't know Elohim. They did not know him because they didn't obey him. To not obey his commandments is to not know him. You've heard this before. 1 John 2, verses 3 through 7. By this we know we've come to know him if we keep his commandments. The one who says, I've come to know him and does not keep his commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whoever keeps his word, in him the love of Elohim has truly been perfected. By this we know that we're in him. The one who says he abides in him ought himself to walk in the same manner as he walked. Beloved, I'm not writing a new commandment to you, but an old commandment which you've had from the beginning. The old commandment is the word which you've heard. Luke 6, verse 46. And why do you call me Master, Master, and do not do what I say? That's a good question, isn't it? That's an excellent question. Matthew 7, starting verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. I got a question about that. Doesn't Romans 10, verses 11 or 12 say, he who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved? Doesn't it say that?
Well, that's a deceitful person. He thinks the Lord doesn't know any better. He thinks as long as he said, oh, I love you, you don't notice all the horrible things he does.
Okay. But doesn't he say in Romans, he who calls upon the name of the Lord will be saved?
Yeah, I'm ready to read on.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. Say that a little louder.
You have to read on.
Yeah, and actually read before. What Paul's argument here in Romans 10 is 10, and this is a big point in a lot of his letters. Gentiles too. Doesn't matter if you're Jew or Gentile. You could be his, okay? And he uses that. It's a quote from the Tanakh, by the way, Micah, I believe. He who calls upon the name of the Lord, name of Yahweh shall be saved. But it's his people calling on him, okay? That's what he's talking about. It doesn't mean anyone. And the point being, he's once again showing that Scripture says it doesn't matter if you're Jew or Gentile. That's what he's emphasizing here again. How many times did he emphasize that in his letters? 30 or 40, something like that. Well, that's another place he did it. Because I'm reading here with what Yeshua said, not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven. Oh. But he who does the will of my Father who's in heaven. If only we had a way of knowing what his will for us is. You know, would that be great? If he actually wrote it down for us so we could know what his will is for us. Many will say to me on that day, Master, Master, did we not prophesy in your name? And in your name cast out demons, in your name perform many miracles? Then I'll declare to them, I never knew you. Depart from me, you who practice lawlessness. You practice lawlessness, he doesn't know you. You're what's his name to him. Okay? That's not good. Going back to 1 Samuel 2, verses 15 and 16. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servant would come and say to the man who was sacrificing, give the priest meat for roasting, as he will not take boiled meat from you, only raw. And if the man said to him, they must surely burn the fat first, then take as much as you desire. Then he would say, no, but you shall give it to me now, and if not, I'll take it by force. Eli's sons, they would take the offerings with the fat on it. This was supposed to be burnt off as an offering to Elohim. Okay? I know when I smoke brisket and lamb, which I'll be doing here in a couple of weeks for Passover, why does all that smoke billow up out of there? Well, it's the fat burning. Okay? That's what that is. That's the fat burning. And that's what smells so good. So, it's supposed to burn it off, though, as an offering to Elohim. Leviticus 3, starting at verse 3, and from the sacrifice of the peace offerings, he shall present an offering by fire to Yahweh, the fat that covers the entrails and all the fat that's on the entrails. And the two kidneys with the fat that's on them, which is on the loins, and the lobe of the liver, which he shall remove with the kidneys. Then Aaron's sons shall offer it up in smoke on the altar on the burnt offering, which is on the wood that's on the fire. It's an offering by fire of a soothing aroma to Yahweh. Fat's not supposed to be eaten anyway. Leviticus 7, starting in verse 23, speak to the sons of Israel. You shall not eat any fat from an ox, a sheep, or a goat. Also the fat of an animal which dies, and the fat of an animal torn by beasts may be put to any other use, but you must certainly not eat it. For whoever eats the fat of the animal from which an offering by fire is offered to Yahweh, even the person who eats shall be cut off from his people. So these were bad boys, very bad boys. Verse 17, thus the sin of the young men was very great before Yahweh, for the men despised the offering of Yahweh. Now Samuel was ministering before Yahweh as a boy wearing a linen ephod. And his mother would make him a little robe and bring it to him from year to year when she would come up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. Then Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, may Yahweh give you children from this woman in place of the one she dedicated to Yahweh. And they went to their own home. So her mother would bring him up new clothes to serve as a priest and bring him every year on the Day of Atonement. Verse 21, and Yahweh visited Hannah, and she conceived and gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the boy Samuel grew before Yahweh. See, Hannah was blessed greatly for her love and dedication to Elohim. Verse 22, now Eli was very old, and he heard that all his sons were doing to all Israel and how they lay with the women who served at the doorway of the tent of meeting. Oh, good grief. These guys are disgusting. And he said to them, why do you do such things, the evil things that I hear from all these people? No, my sons, for the report is not good which I hear from Yahweh's people circulating. If one man sins against another, Elohim will mediate for him. But if a man sins against Yahweh, who can intercede for him? But they would not listen to the voice of their father, for Yahweh desired to put them to death. Well, Elohim desired to put these boys to death. So he closed their hearts from listening to the warning for repentance from their father. He just said, I'll just see to it they don't take heed his advice. Verse 26, now the boy Samuel was growing in stature and in favor both with Yahweh and with men. Then the man of Elohim came to Eli and said to him, thus says Yahweh, did I not indeed reveal myself to the house of your father when they were in Egypt in bondage to Pharaoh's house? Did I not choose them from all the tribes of Israel to be my priests, to go up to my altar, to burn incense, to carry an ephod before me? Did I not give to the house of your father all the fire offerings of the sons of Israel? So Eli sent a man to tell Eli of the fate of his descendants. Verse 29, why did you kick at my sacrifice and at my offering, which I've commanded in my dwelling, and honor your sons above me by making yourselves fat with the choicest of every offering of my people Israel? Therefore Yahweh, Elohim of Israel, declares, I did indeed say that your house and the house of your father should walk before me forever. But now Yahweh declares, far be it from me, for those who honor me I will honor. Those who despise me will be lightly esteemed. Eli was a good man, but a terrible father. He's being chastened for putting his sons above Elohim. You can't do that. Yeah, Tom?
What does lightly esteemed mean?
Not held in very high honor. Okay? Verse 31, behold, the days are coming when I will break your strength and the strength of your father's house. Not be an old man in your house, and you will see the distress of my dwelling. In spite of all that I do good for Israel, and an old man will not be in your house forever. Yet I will not cut off every man of yours from my altar, that your eyes may fail from weeping and your soul grieve, and all the increase of your house will die in the prime of life. Wow. Eli and his descendants are going to suffer greatly. Eli he's got to take part of the blame in those boys, because he let them get away with a lot of stuff. And he knew they were doing it. And he never ever should have done that. Verse 34, and this will be the sign to you which shall come concerning your two sons, Hophni and Phinehas, on the day both of them shall die. But I'll raise up for myself a faithful priest who will do according to what is in my heart and in my soul. And I'll build him an enduring house, and he'll walk before my anointed always. It shall come about that everyone who is left in your house shall come and bow down to him for a piece of silver or a loaf of bread, and say, please assign me to one of the priest's offices so that I may eat a piece of bread. Well, Hophni and Phinehas are going to meet their fate. We knew it was coming. Any thoughts, any questions on Samuel? Yeah? Yep. Hannah was a heck of a gal in Scripture. She was super. And it does the heart warm to see that she was blessed with 5 more kids. You know, that's super.